Today I want to speak about climate change and show you one of the many solutions needed in order to mitigate carbon emissions and build a sustainable future. Why are supply chains key to fighting climate change? Because they account for 60% of all global emissions, and currently there's a lack of $100 trillion to get to net zero by 2050. Addressing supply chain sustainability is therefore crucial, but it's also a massive revenue opportunity. Corporations are making these investments already, and it's your chance to get on board. I'm Jen, the founder and CEO of ATMO. I'm here with Scott, and our mission is to help corporations and banks accelerate their net zero progress and channel more capital towards sustainable supply chains. What we are going to show you today is ATMO's decarbonisation platform, where corporations can upload their existing emissions, engage and assign decarbonisation projects to suppliers, get financing in place through loan origination and aggregation, ensure project implementation, and measure reductions. And for the banks out there, this means you can grow your bottom line while meeting your ESG targets. So let's get started. So this is essentially the interface when I log in. Let's say I'm a crisp manufacturer. So here, when you look at the pie chart, I can see my top emission sources across manufacturing, agriculture, packaging, and so on. So let's say I click on agriculture. Then you see that most of my emissions are actually coming from rice flour, sunflower oil, as well as potatoes. So now I want to know, how can I really achieve reductions within my value chain? So I click on project recommendations. Here you see the biggest decarbonisation levers within agriculture. The system is always showing you the mitigation opportunities. You see this on the right-hand side of each box. And then it shows you the predicted climate impact, which is essentially how many carbon emissions can you mitigate on an annual basis, the operational impact, so costs for the supplier, the project cost, so how much is this going to cost to implement this, as well as the investment cost. So in the case of no-tillage farming, on the far right, we show you ranges here, because the actual cost depends on the supplier you choose, the project you choose, as well as the lender you implement this with. So if I click on C project, you essentially here then get a deep dive. So you see on the left-hand side your baseline emissions, on the right-hand side you can see the different mitigation projects, how much carbon they are actually going to reduce, and what is the operational impact. The system is always giving a recommended option where you see the thumbs up. And let's say I'm good to go ahead with reduced tillage farming. Then I will go ahead and add my suppliers. So I click on Add More. Here you see all of the different suppliers. You can actually rank them by their biggest mitigation opportunity. And so it becomes very clear that definitely I should choose the first three, which will already do a lot in terms of reductions. Important to say, so here you see the project cost as well as the investment cost. The project cost is how much is it going to cost to implement this. The investment cost is basically the interest rate, which is going to be absorbed by the corporation as part of an insetting fee. I will explain the model in more detail again in a second, but for now, let's choose these three suppliers and go ahead. What you see now is that the implementation cost is updated on the right-hand side. And usually what happens in corporations is, in order to get funding signed off, I need to do some alignment. So I can download a project summary here. And then once my alignment is done, and I'm good to proceed, I go ahead and click on Proceed. And then what you see here is essentially all of your suppliers, the different projects that are in motion, what's the status of the project, and whether the loans have been approved already. We don't need to go through every details here, but this is what I want you to pay attention to. Once the supplier has accepted the project, what this triggers in the backend is a loan application, whereas ATMO collects project information on behalf of the banks to aid their credit risk assessment and aggregate smaller loans into a bigger package so the bank has access to an SMB portfolio at a reduced risk because there is backing from corporations. These corporations absorb the interest rate as part of an insetting fee, and the suppliers have access to low-cost capital in order to implement the decarbonisation projects. So now, this is a smaller crisp manufacturer. So now think of large corporations that have hundreds of products, 10,000s of suppliers, complex supply chains. This really enables impact, scale, and a large demand for capital. So I spoke a lot about what's happening in the back end. Now let's fast forward to when the project gets financing and gets implemented. So we click on performance analysis. And here you then see essentially the targets that I have set as a corporation, which are my different suppliers that I have engaged, the decarbonisation projects, and the reductions that I have achieved. So to sum it up, what does this mean for you? Or what does it mean for corporations and banks, to be more precise? Corporations can really accelerate the carbon reductions in their value chain. They can empower their suppliers and get access to better data while tracking their reductions. Banks can extend their loan portfolio at a collateralized risk while meeting the ESG targets. We're here today for the next 2 days. If you want to swing by and have a chat, we're looking to onboard more banks, and we're currently fundraising. Thank you.